So without further ado, I want to introduce Amy Wertheim, owner and farmer of Wertheim Gardens. If you've been to our past classes this year, you'll likely have had a class from Amy. She's pretty awesome. Amy was AIG's 2018 Businesswoman of the Year as the most trusted woman in herbal products, as well as serving on the GRIT inaugural forum, Illinois Specialty Crops Board of Directors, past president, Illinois Herb Association, and past president of the Logan County Herb Guild. Amy is a proud seventh generation steward of the land. As a four-time grand champion and five-time sectional champion of the Illinois State Herb Competition, she's well versed in all aspects of herbs and enjoys sharing her knowledge with anyone interested in growing their knowledge in herbs. So we're really excited to have Amy here today to teach us all about preserving our herbs. And give me just a second. I'm going to hand it over to Amy. It's all yours.
You always make me sound so good. Hi, I'm Amy. And she said, I'm the owner of Wertheim Gardens in Atlanta, Illinois. It's the only certified herb garden in Logan County. It's one of 22 throughout the state of Illinois. So there's two schools of thoughts when it comes to your pan. Are you a purist where you wipe it out every time so that there's nothing left in there for what you're doing for the next thing? Or do you go ahead and let the oil stay in there and just add those additional properties onto the next item that you're making? The question to answer that is, well, I just did lotion. We're not going to ingest it. So therefore, if I'm going to use this for the next item, I need to make sure it's also for something that's not going to be ingested. Well, in this case, it is. We're going to be making our salves, which also uses our calendula oil. So we're going to go ahead and leave what oil is in there because it's not going to affect our next product. All right. Okay. So let's make our salve. So in your salve bags, here we go. Oh, yes. Grab my box right there, if you could, please. All right. So you have your, oh, let me get that out of the way. Oh, I can do this in my sleep. This one we do all the time. Just a cross of how we change things. Okay. So I need you to, so I get box of 30 containers, and then we have 40 of the large that come in. So what I would like you to do, Sarah, while I'm yammering on incessantly, let's move that up here a little bit. I want you to take every lid off. We want to set the empty container and then put these somewhere elsewhere. Just, you can throw them aside, and then we'll throw them back in the box. So I'm going to have you go ahead and get all of those out, okay? And empty those. While we're doing this, I'm going to be doing like our full recipe. You guys are going to do the recipe that we gave you. It turns out the same, okay? So what we're going to do, you should have 3 containers that have the 50 milliliter on it. It's the lavender, the calendula, and the rosemary. Okay, so you're going to need those 3 containers. And I'm going to have you go ahead and put them together in a measuring bowl, a measuring cup. I'm going to go ahead and get mine out here. All right, I need to eyeball this up, turn around here. All right.
Let's go mix. Yeah, just throw a mixing bowl.
A measuring cup. Measuring cup.
If you're still working on heating up your lotion ingredients, that just goes into a bowl into the fridge, but you're just pouring the oils into a measuring cup.
So your rosemary, your calendula, and your lavender. I already had mine all mixed together. Okay. All right. So you have, the 50 milliliters, that's going to be 150. So that actually comes out to 150. That's there. Okay. Oh, isn't that sweet? Never noticed that on this. Okay. So I really did never notice it. So on my measuring cup here, milliliters is on one side, ounces is on the other side. This particular recipe for salves, what you need to do is whatever your total milliliters is, you divide it by 17. I know it sounds really weird. It works. If you do 18, it's too hard. If you do 16, it's not hard enough. So it's 17. So when we do it, we always put 200 of each oil in a measuring cup. So I have 200 lavender, 200 rosemary, 200 calendula. You have 50 milliliter of each one of those three, making 150 milliliters. Now, here's the quirky thing about this on this other side of this cup that I never noticed. I always weigh it out. I'm going to weigh it out anyway here just because I don't trust this. But theoretically, across from that, that would be 6 ounces. Now, here's the thing about this. You cannot weigh milliliters. Milliliters in this instance is a volume measurement. But the ounces for the beeswax is a weight measurement. So if I were to go 600 milliliters by weight, and then I was adding, I divide that by 17, and I had my beeswax, it's not going to be correct. So I'm going to measure my oil, divide it by 17, and then come up with the correct amount. Now I know that 600 divided by 17 is like 35.7642, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to put 36 in here. So I'm going to not injure myself, I hope.
Yeah.
There we go. Right. Scoot everybody over, come closer.
But they won't have to worry about it.
No.
They're just going to use their beeswax.
Right. You will use your beeswax. Absolutely. You will use your beeswax. But I want to use this beeswax because I know what I'm making. I want this thicker beeswax. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to go to my ounces. So the number I gave them for the beeswax for the grams is correct.
Yeah, so 10 grams of beeswax, what you have in your salve bag with the lavender oil, calendula oil, and rosemary oil. And then you have 5 tins. So you can do what I did and unscrew the lid and set them on the on your countertop because we will eventually fill them up.
Oh, sooner than later. Right. Back to the other side.
So you've noticed that this is a thicker.
It's much thicker. Yes.
Piece.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much that so I get these sometimes from Amazon myself. I've never really looked at them and to see where they got them, where they came from. But if you look at these, I mean, they're really soft. You can literally take your fingernail and like go right through it. Well, that's really soft beeswax. I'm not sure what's in the beeswax. I don't know. But we do use it for the lip balms and we do use it for the lotion because I don't want it to be as stiff.
Yeah.
This, I know the thickness of it and where we're at. So. Yeah. Yes. So when I was down there, he took me back to see his beehives. Okay. We were on the opposite side of kind of in the middle to opposite side of his tennis courts. On the other side of his tennis court is where he had these bees. And we were talking really soft, kind of like this. They still got like overtly aggressive. I'm like, really? Wow. Okay. All right. I mean, he's like, okay, let's step back. He's a really, really kind of a cool guy. I always wanted to make soap. He was an engineer, made gazillions of dollars, retired to Florida, and now he makes soap and he goes to farmers markets. Okay. Okie doke. All right. So I'm going to throw this in here.
So beeswax in the same.
In your pan. All right. We're going to pour that in there. So technical. Just pour. See, you're getting good at that instead of like waving around. Dump it. I should say dump it. Yeah.
Should
All right.
So here's what you do.
So this is a little trick. If you don't want to have stuff all over your counter. So when it's coming out, turn it on itself. If you turn it on itself, then it doesn't come down the outside.
So you won't have any spills or drips.
Now, so here's the thing. This thing is really old. It's got some cracks. You can't hardly read any of the numbers or anything. Why am I still using this? Because it's got this awesome point right here. And you'll see why that's important in a minute.
So if I have something like that, this might be helpful.
Yes. I have tried to find, I'll be honest, I have searched high and low for the last couple of years for measuring cups that have this point. They have them rounded.
Yeah.
Not so cool. They have other direct designs and stuff, but I can't find one with a point.
Yeah. Because it'll be accurate.
Even glass ones, they're kind of, well, glass ones should be rounded, but yeah, I have all kinds of like little stress fractures and everything in here. I'm gonna cry very, very,
We'll find you a
very
new one.
badly when it finally breaks someday.
So this
Right.
is what temperature do you recommend for heating?
It's the same thing as always. When you get to like 140, 145, we're gonna shut it down. When you have these, when they're starting to get translucent and at least half to 3/4 of the way melted, shut it off. So we're going to let this heat up and get melted. In the meantime, I'm going to sort these out.
Okay.
Now, here's something that you probably wouldn't think or even imagine. When we are going to be pouring the salve mixtures into these get ungodly hot. You will not be able to pick it up and move it. It will burn you like a 2nd-degree burn. It's really bad. So you either need to have gloves on, or what I normally do is when I have these, after I poured one, I kind of push it with my fingers like that to get them moved and out of the way. It's just safer that way. You cannot pick them up. And it's hard to pick them up with the big UGG gloves and things like that. To get them doing that. So you see how it's starting to melt in there. So this beeswax, when it melts, it gets, I call it stringy almost. Okay. So move your liquid around so your beeswax starts to melt. And we'll keep doing that. I'll let you kind of move that around a little bit while I get myself situated and settled here.
Is there a reason you've chosen lavender?
So this is a type of like an It's Begone salve. Okay. So the lavender is for itching. The calendula is for bruising, swelling, and then rosemary is for some of the bruising, but also kind of some pain management. Yes. So it is slowly melting. Right. This is another, we did not send these to you. This is just a little quirk that we do. Anytime we have lavender in something that's going to be an itch, we use lavender flowers. Now, you're going to think it smells wonderful.
Oh, it does.
I'm allergic to lavender and I have an immense immediate headache right now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's awful.
We
Oh,
can close the container.
no, we need to use this. So what's going to happen is after I pour my liquid in there, then we will put a lavender flower in it. It just helps to identify for me
What's what?
what's what. Because if I pick it up and I wasn't paying attention, like say I wanted to grab some sore muscle stuff and I wasn't even thinking or paying attention, and I grab an itch one and I start to put it on, I break out in these lovely hives. It's just most attractive. But if I take the lid off and I see that, I immediately go, oh, no, this is not what I wanted. Because we always have spare that we have back. So you will get to put those in. I'm not kidding you. My head feels like it's going to explode. It's unreal.
We do carry lavender flowers in our whole section. If they're deciding to make this more for the holidays.
All right. Then I got a toothpick out. We'll explain what that's for in a second. So it's getting there. It's almost done. The hardest part is waiting. So if you have somebody who can just stand around for you and like move it, that's the best way to do it. She's being a really good sport for me today.
I get to be one with it. I get to learn.
One with the oil. So we do a sore muscle salve that has arnica and St. John's wort and calendula in it. So the St. John's wort is for your swelling and pain. Calendula is for your bruising. And then the arnica also helps with some of that swelling and bruising and the soreness. So it's really great. So when I got my cast off last week, I immediately grabbed my sore muscle salve and I was rubbing it all over it because it still really hurts. I'm not healed yet. I have to go back into another cast. But I was putting it on pretty thick, and I had it with me at the doctor's office, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I explained what I was doing. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good thing to do. But definitely put that on there so it'll help it." So it won't break per se. You just keep moving it, and it does melt it. It's really close. Yeah. All right, we're all melted. I'm going to have you pour everything into here. Okay. Pour me, please. Oh, here. Let me get you.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm a big, there you go. Thank you. I am. And I do this at home. I always make sure I have something under my spatulas just because I don't want to have, that mess. Ooh, you got it? You're good?
Short break.
Mhm. Yeah, because I have to pour these all out.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're good.
so we're gonna. We just.
We can take a break to keep you guys, to get you guys all caught up. We've got a stove Amy brought in her, portable stove. So that's been helping us, melt everything pretty quick. So if you need more time, we can definitely wait and, make sure everyone's caught up. Basically, we're both of the,
Don't touch, you get burnt. Don't. I don't want you to get burnt. All right, you have to move. Okay, stop.
you're good.
You are now putting lavender flowers into there. Okay. Now, usually we weigh these, but I know we've done enough of these now. I know where to fill them. So that one flower only per container.
Like one.
Okay. One little flower bud. Yep.
Like this, or
Yep. Now, if he's too big to fit, because we have the big ones here, you kind of keep that. And I'm pushing them with the tops of my nails, the tops of my nails. But I do not want to touch it with my skin. Nope.
No, we don't have lavender flowers with your kit. This is just something Amy wanted to decorate because she had leftover.
I have to
lavender
do this
flowers.
when I do lavender. I have to put that in there as an identifier because I'm very allergic to lavender. It's the only one that we put something in. So I brought those with me because I knew I was going to be making these today and I need to be able to identify them so that I myself don't touch this or use it.
So this is just an extra thing, and actually a cool idea that you could potentially do with some of your, maybe you have lavender flowers or other flowers, but you can potentially decorate. If you're making this again for the holidays for gifts, you could, I've seen some with like a dried calendula flower, something to decorate.
So you take one of the tents, spread it around so people can see it.
Yeah, in a second. Don't touch.
Once it cools, we can kind of show you what it looks like. Or
You have all of these. Do these.
Show up close to the camera how I'm feeling.
Okay, you're going to, so there's a ring in there. Okay, you're going to go up to, that top ring. Okay, see that top ring? Don't go above that top ring right there. Yep. You have 1, 2, 3 that haven't been done. Right. So take your toothpick. You're going to move them back to the middle. That's why I have that toothpick there. Because they tend, here's what's really weird. So if you would do this in the future, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter how level your work surface is, whatever you put in there tends to gravitate to the side and cling to it. I have no idea why. It's just the most annoying thing on the planet. But use a toothpick, and as they start to set up, then you will move them back to the middle. But don't go real, you have to be a very slow and gentle because then they just shoot to the other side.
Totally. So we're using a toothpick to kind of guide the lavender flowers I've dropped in on the top to try and center them, keep them on course. But your salves will be super lavender. Well, you know, they have the lavender infused oil, so it'll, even though you don't have a flower, it will be nice and infused.
If they did not make lavender oil in our last class, and they are using their oils from there, but they happen to have lavender essential oil, could they add a little extra 1/8 cup of calendula and rosemary oil and a few drops of lavender essential oil?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, you can, if you don't have, if you're working without the infused oils, which was an option for this class, and you either have infused lavender oil or you want to modify using a lavender essential oil, you can do that. Maybe, would you suggest diluting, having them add more oil or anything like that, or just adding a couple drops of the lavender essential oil to the mixture?
Okay, so here's what I would do. So let's say you have your own oils, okay? And you are wanting to have lavender in it, but you don't have the lavender infused oil, but you have the essential oil. Go ahead and measure out the oils that you are wanting to use. Go ahead and get your beeswax, divide it by 17, get your beeswax in there. What I would do is I would not put it in when you're melting everything. I would get everything melted first, take it out, put it into your measuring cup, and then I would add your drops. Now, I would probably put 1 drop of essential oil per 50 milliliters that you did. Okay. If you find that that's too strong, then take it up to 100 milliliters, but I would do 50 to start with, honestly.
So potentially just 3 drops.
Yes. So today, if you didn't have that, you know, if you had it today, you wouldn't need to have the lavender essential oils added. But if you had you missed one. Oh no, there he is. He's hiding. He's really hidden. Oh
The
my.
lavender flower is going all the way.
So, and what they'll do is they'll start to set up, and you'll see when she's moving these, as they start to set up, there's a point where you can't move them and you're just stuck. So if you didn't get him back in the middle, he's just going to stay there because you'll start to see that the oils are going to get really tight as they're setting up. Now I'm going to move all of these. I think we're going to move up to this corner over here, out of the side of here, out of our workspace. And then she can still keep an eye on them. Yeah, we can pause for a few.
And we still have time. You guys have plenty of time to catch up.
All right, so
we're just navigating our cord tins.
because that's really hot. So hold on. And this way, also, they're off this work surface, which is kind of warm, and they can start to set up a little bit. I no longer have feeling in my fingers.
Can take a turn.
No, I really don't. No, I honestly don't have it in my fingers because I've burned them so many times. 50 milliliters, yep.
So 1 drop of essential, if you were to ever use essential oils, Amy recommends 1 drop per 50 milliliters. So in this case, if you were going to use essential oils, it would be 3 drops for the 150 milliliters.
Well, yes, but I wouldn't use, because there's lavender oil they're using, I wouldn't use the lavender essential oil on top of the lavender infused oil that you already have.
It's melted. Well,
It actually will turn a darker, oh, hey, look, you can see. Okay.
take it off the heat. Can you repeat what point?
Oh, so if you are keeping track of your temperature, you're going to shut the heat off at 140, 145. If you do not have a temp gun in order to do that, you're going to turn off the heat when your beeswax is About halfway melted, it starts to look translucent. Okay.
And just keep stirring until it all
Yeah,
dissolves
you need to stir
together.
if you just let it sit there to set up, I mean to melt, it doesn't melt that quick. It needs movement in the pan so that you can actually the friction rubbing against it helps melt it down quicker. So when you put it into the tins, it does take a little bit for it to set up. So this particular tin right here, it has the final little remnants of what we had. It didn't fill the tin completely, but you can see when you poured it out, it still has that yellow, you can see clear to the bottom of the tin. When it sets up, it'll be a solid, and it has more of a opaque light yellow. So it's not running or anything. Now I normally let our salves sit for 24 hours before I put the lid on, label them, put them in their bags, and have them so they can sit up fine like this. Now this isn't going anywhere because he's set up. We'll set him over there. But by the end of the class, all of the salves will be set up so I can throw a lid on and be able to transport them. So.
And you just used you poured once all of the oils and the beeswax for your salves, everything was dissolved and it was ready to pour into tins. You used a little measuring cup with a spout so that it helped you guide how to pour. And then you left
to get them in,
just a little bit of space at the top of the tin.
Top ring,
So
where you go to.
Okay, so we're back. I think we're answering some of the questions. We're gonna walk through the process for the lip balms. Do you want to talk about what ingredients they'll need for it?
Yes. Yes, I have one.
Cool. Okay,
So,
great.
yes, relax. Just breathe. Breathe. All right, okay. So we gave you the ingredients to make 2 different lip balms. And what we're going to do is I want you to take out the containers that have 3 grams of beeswax and the 4 grams of beeswax. Those are the first things we're looking for. Okay. And when you guys have those, can we get some thumbs ups on that? Make sure we have the 3 and the 4. Okay. And I want you to set the 4 to the side. Set it off somewhere else. We're just going to be dealing with the 3 grams to start with. Okay.
Yep, they got you.
Okay. Then we have our 6 tablespoons of calendula oil. So half of this is for one of the lip balms, and the other half, so 3 tablespoons is for the one lip balm, and the other half is for the rosemary. So one is for chocolate, the other half is for the raspberry. All right. So here's how I usually do it at home. Take a marker, whatever, draw a line where you think that middle point is. So when you dump it out, you're going to do that. You're okay if you're a little bit over or under. Don't panic. Okay.
So the mint oil, for someone who had a question about the peppermint oil, we have a little container that says peppermint oil. And it's really just it's one of those peppermint extracts, edible extracts, just like vanilla extract. So it should be in a container like this. And there's really it's pretty potent, so there's just a couple drops in there. Take a look for that peppermint.
All right. The other thing you're going to need is your chocolate. Pull the chocolate out. Now, I'm assuming everybody has a container like this, and you should have 1 ounce of chocolate in it. I have a little extra because I was going to let you guys have a snack. For being good sport. All right, so we need 1 ounce of the chocolate. I'm going to measure mine real quick, only because I know. for 0. There we go. Now, if you happen to have a scale and you weigh it, and my mom was overly generous, because she was having fun when she was packing stuff up, and you have any left over, you can add it into the lip balm we're going to make. It'll make it super chocolatey, or you can snack.
That's great.
You can snack. Okay, there you go. Actually, I do need all mine. All right, so there we go. So we have our 1 ounce. We have that. We have that. We have that. All right.
So are we making
I
the
need-
chocolate one first?
We're gonna make, so in the interest of time, we're gonna make the chocolate lip balm. And then I will tell you about the raspberry one. There's no difference other than you will, where we put the chocolate in to be in the oil, you'll just put your raspberries that you've smashed. That's the only difference between them. Okay. All right. I needed to do something. Where's my container? Here we go. All right. Do 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 do. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So I just want to make sure I have everything I need. I have my beeswax. I have. So did all of you have your cocoa butter that you left over? If you didn't, that's okay. If you do, we're going to use it here just so we can pump up that chocolate flavor. That's the only reason why I kept it. Okay, that. 1, 2, 3. I'm missing my oil. Okay. Right. He ran away. Where'd my thing go? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So we have our oil, we have our beeswax, we have our chocolate, and that should be everything we need. Oh, and we'll have our peppermint. Okay. So in our cooking vessel, we want to put our beeswax. Okay. Throw that in there for me. Not yet. Okay. So here's how you normally do that. So we stir every little bit of goodness. What? No, I haven't turned the heat on. I'm going to throw everything in here first. If you have the extra cocoa butter left over, that's your recycle that. Okay.
So we did the beeswax, the cocoa butter, if you had it.
Get rid of the extra, just so we keep. Okay. Add your chocolate. Okay, there you go. All right. You're going to add your peppermint oil. Now you guys just have your few drops.
Just a little.
That's what we gave you in your kit is peppermint extract. Instead of not the essential oils, but the peppermint extract that you find in the baking section.
Okay. We use a straight peppermint oil. I've never used an extract, but I'm going to tell you it'd be a lot safer to use the peppermint extract. Peppermint oil is very intense. And if you get too much added to it, it can taste medicinal. And even though peppermint does settle your stomach, too much is too much.
Icy
So-
ways.
So put that in there. And out. I'm gonna tip it backwards so I don't make a mess. The rest of this. All right. I can let you recycle him. All right. So if you have everything in there, your beeswax, your chocolate, your peppermint oil,
And maybe a little cocoa
and a
butter.
little cocoa butter, then we're going to go ahead and turn it on. Now, the chocolate that we gave you is called Saratoga. It is from Blumers. They are out of Chicago. They have the US in Pennsylvania and in San Francisco, and then the one in Chicago. They're the largest chocolate manufacturer in North America. They just do chocolate. So you can kind of guess where the chocolate from the factory in Pennsylvania goes to. And the one that's out there in San Francisco, you can probably Google and figure out that one too. We get it in 10-pound bars, 50-pound boxes. Not to use for this, but when I was making up my different lip balm flavors, I'm like, oh, chocolate mint would be so good. So we did try and use a Meadowland, which is more of a milk, but didn't really do it. I needed that punch of the dark. So Saratoga is the dark that we use on all of our candies. So that's why we use this one here. And it tastes really good too. All right, so we're gonna keep moving this around so it can get melted out here. Now, you will have to keep moving this because the chocolate's going to melt probably the quickest. It doesn't like to incorporate into your beeswax or your oils. But the more you move it around, the more it will get put together. All right, you want to keep stirring that, okay?
So you basically put everything into the pot all at once.
Right. Now, if you were doing the raspberry one, you would put in your beeswax, you put in your calendula oil, and you would put your raspberries in there all mashed up. Okay? That's it. It's very simple. Yes. So slowly getting there. Now, they provided you with these types of containers. So they turn, so they go up, kind of like your chapstick ones. Okay. I have these also sitting out here. So we're going to fill some of these. And then we use ones like this, and they're like little tubs as opposed to the tubes. Couple of reasons why we use the tubs versus the tubes. One, there's a bigger possibility of getting it in here. Really, without making a big mess. But sometimes if we get the mixture too warm, then it will cause the plastic to expand and they can leak down here a little bit. That's not a problem. Once it sets up, you can wipe it off and kind of, wiggle it around so you'll be able to do that. It's just our personal preference is we do the tubs and then we put them in little gossamer bags that match.
Nice.
So for this particular one, because it's chocolate mint, we actually have like green lids that go on. So, and we have different colored lids for all the different colored, different flavors. We have 16 different lip balm flavors that we do. So, and it was funny. My mom was like, why are you making so many different ones? Blah, 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 blah. Well, we were sold out for the majority of them. We're down just like to the fall ones right now. And she's like, where are the rest of the lip balms? I'm like, well, you were giving me, kind of, static about the whole having too much. And she's like, well, but I wanted this kind, or I was looking, she's like, well, I really wanted this flavor and you were out. I'm like, really? So anyway, but we came up with like an orange dreamsicle one and coconut. So it's like being on the beach type of thing. Was there a question?
Would they add any of the cocoa butter to this recipe?
Yes. Yes. You can always put the cocoa butter in here. So here's the thing. We put just the straight information there. You can use beeswax, you can use cocoa butter, you can use coconut oil, any types of those oils, solids. Those are good things to add to your lip balms. You want at least half of your recipe to be the beeswax. That gives it the kind of like the base, the foundation for everything to cling to. The cocoa butter, when it's cool, does set up also, but it tends to be softer. So that's why you want to have that wax in there. We do. And are we melting?
Yeah.
We're slowly getting there.
Okay.
It's very chocolatey looking. You'll see when we pour it out
It's like
into the, it's the cocoa.
hot cocoa.
It's not to be drank.
Yeah.
Yes.
You actually added all of their And they were asking, could they just make a full batch of raspberry?
Raspberry chocolate? Oh gosh, yes. Smash your raspberries and throw those babies in there. You betcha.
It's good.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really good, doesn't it? That sounds so delish. Oh, yum. Super
Yeah, 'cause
yum.
if you use most of your cocoa butter,
Mhm.
so if they use most of their cocoa butter in this flavor, they're fine without the cocoa butter and the.
Yep. And if they used all of their calendula oil instead of splitting it between the two, toss your raspberries in with the chocolate. Oh my gosh, that my mouth is watering.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea.
We sell
See, and that's how good ideas happen. Mistakes. The reason why our brittle is like nobody else's is because my dad made this really awful mistake one time. And actually it's turned out to be a really good mistake. And now we do it every time and it sets our brittle apart from
It
others.
looks like everything's melted on our end.
Well, let's turn that down. Okay, we're all melted. Okay. So you are now going to, let me get you
Thanks, Kat.
paper towel. Sorry. There
Oh.
you go. See, now I've got her thinking like me. Get a paper towel, put underneath of it. All right, you are now going to pour it all into there. Grab your gloves.
Got my gloves.
Okay.
Right, can it sit for just a minute to get everyone else caught up on?
Yes. Well, I have all these to fill. So yeah. So while they're melting, I'll work on getting these filled. And as yours gets melted, you fill your containers and we'll all end up at the same spot together. It takes me a little bit longer. Don't lean it on that because it'll flip over.
Melt it.
No, it'll flip over. All right, so hold on. You got one out. So normally when I'm at home, I actually flip it over upside down. Oh. Yep. Flip it over on itself all the way around. And if you can't, that's okay. Just I'll wipe it there. Okay, there we go.
Might be some little residual, and that's okay.
That's okay. What I'll have you do is I'll have you wipe it out with paper towels and clean it so that we have it for the next set.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, we're done. We're done with our pans. We're gonna
Unless we did
moving
the
on to the fun.
raspberry.
Right. Okay. Oh. All right. So here's a little way to cheat. And we didn't tell you about this, but this is, I believe, like a gravy measuring cup. So when you put the stuff in here and it pours out here, it keeps the fat or whatever coming up here to the top. If you were doing like these little ones, that could be a really good way to make sure you get it in there. I just thought of that. I saw that today. I'm like, oh, that could really work. Or you can just torture yourself. Like I'm going to right now.
And it's okay to spill.
Yep, it is. It's fine. You could always pick it up and rub it on your lips.
And it will cool, and then you'll be able to kind of wipe it off the edges if you spill while you're pouring.
And see, I already made a little spill. All right. Feeling brave. There we go. Ta-da. Making myself nervous.
Let us know if you have any questions.
If they're using the rest of the raspberries, will their consistency be a little chunky? Could they kind of strain it? Should they?
I've never strained it. In our straight raspberry one, I smash them up really well, and then the pieces go in there. They're preserved in the wax cocoa butter mixture. They will not mold or rot or anything like that. So you're going to have the little chunks and pieces of the raspberry. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Color. Well, chocolate will probably keep it dark, but if you did it without the chocolate, it'd probably be a nice pink.
Almost too full. So see, and I'm going to tell you, I've done thousands of these and I still am making a mess. So it's not that big a deal. Once they set up, it rubs off really easy.
And one thing that you can do is you can look at where the white
Not moving him.
You can kind of roll your tube all the way down so that the bottom part of your container allows you to pour as much liquid as you can. So take a look at your tubes before you fill them, and if you can twist the part of the tube down as far as it can go, that will make sure that you fill it up all the way.
This one is too full. Now, you want to try and fill some?
Sure.
All right, here you
There
go.
we go.
All right. But see, you'll start to get like a little, when you're doing it, you'll start to actually get almost like a funnel slide, and it'll build up and it goes through that as it's going. Yeah.
So stalagmite.
Nope. On the counter. There you go. And go slow. Watch. That's too little.
Too little.
Yeah, you need a little more. There you go. Perfect. Because when these cool, they actually become concave.
Okay. Yeah, so they'll sink down as they cool, or will they?
Yeah. A little on my fingers, so I put it on my lips.
Oh, come on.
Ooh, you're okay.
A little close. Look at practice as you go.
We have a camp. We do summer camp for kids. And we have kids out there, and they make the salves and the lip balms. I tell you, these kids are like fearless, like pour, 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 and they're not missing it. They're not messing. I think sometimes when I'm doing it, I just overthink too much and I'm worried about it. But they're just like, they're whipping through it. Oh my God. When they were there for 3 hours, and we made right around 400 lip balms, and we had 100 salves. Those kids were like rock stars.
So, do they like certain flavors, the kiddos?
We were making a cucumber melon one, which they thought was awesome because they went out and we ground up the cucumbers and we had the melons.
So
So,
how much
a
would you
basil.
add in their mix if they're making some in the summer? Would they add about the same amount, like one ounce?
If we're using this formula that we gave them, I would probably put 2 slices of cucumber, and then we used muskmelon. And so we had like a big, like a good, like an oversized bite of muskmelon, and we did that.
That's awesome.
So they were having a blast. They were picking out other flavors because we have a lot of the dried herbs. So they were back there. Ooh, let's try this one. We have all the infused herbs back there. Man, they came up with some doozies. Look at her. She is just rocking this out. You're hired. You're hired.
That means a lot. I finally, after I screwed up a few.
But here's the thing. They really, once they set up, it's real easy to wipe it off where it went over the side. It just pops right off and
Yeah.
on your lip.
Because this would be so great. I've made plantain salve for family members for Christmas one year, and I liked it.
You are only limited by your imagination and choice of flavors. There's really nothing that stops you or sets you apart from it. And they do set up fairly quickly. So when we get these all poured, I'll show you our salves have set up already. I'll show you what they look like. And then I already have several of these that we've done. The first ones we did, they're already setting up. So you can see how they change colors as they get set.
You're right. You're good. They look full, and then they firm up and they sink a bit.
They get concave. Yep. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, as these sit and you let them over time, just get harder. So, these that we poured here, I won't set these out to sell for probably 2 or 3 weeks. As they sit longer and longer, the flavor builds more and more. So I like when I put them out, they have that real punch of flavor.
Like curing.
Mm-hmm. I like our creams
Mm.
that we do.
So what other creams do you make? Do you make like face creams or?
Oh yeah, I was talking about like our buttercreams. We
Creams.
only do buttercreams at Christmas, but we make them way ahead of time so they have time to sit and build the flavors. It just seems like it grows in there, doesn't it?
It does. Really. Makes a lot. And if they have extra, then they
Mhm.
can maybe put it in mason jars or
Mhm.
wherever they can.
Yes, you had a question.
Do they need to sit them in a cool, dark place? How would they store these?
So once it's set up, you can put your lids on so they won't spill or anything what they've set up. You don't, where do you keep your chapstick? In your purse, on a side table, in your pocket, whichever you want to do. They don't have to be stored in a cool, dark place at all. They're in our shop. We put these in a green bag with the green lid for the chocolate. Here, do him.
I've made some lip balms before and left them in my car in the like 100-degree weather, and that wasn't fun because they'll melt.
They do get soft, almost melty, but they're not going to become liquid again. And then as soon as you take them out, bring them in the house or whatever, they're perfectly fine. They set right back up, just like chapstick does. Or Burt's Bees, or what's another?
You can put like pigments in to make different colors.
It will not work.
No.
It absolutely. So yes, you were just asking, could we add some coloring to this to change the colors? So let's say I was doing like the cucumber melon and I wanted it to be like a super punch of green or orange. It doesn't, we've tried all kinds of coloring, food safe coloring, but the coloring does not take in the wax. It will turn the same shade every time.
Okay.
The only reason this is different is because it has the chocolate in it. That's the only reason why we have a darker one. But as it's setting up, so like this one is real close, you can see it's a lighter shade of brown, and it will continue to lighten as it completely sets up. Yep, it does not say that dark chocolate brown. Yes. I've tried powdered, I've tried liquids, I've tried oils.
Question.
Yes, I have. I've tried it all. And what ends up happening is when you pour it out, it's heavier no matter what you use, and it ends up in the bottom of your pan. Ends up in the bottom of your pan right here. You got to clean. Not a good thing.
So for those of people that are using a pan.
But if you don't believe me, try it. That one's a safe one to try. Oh, gracious. You're challenging me here to be able to move these and not spill them. And you're all. So I'll tell you, what happens is I get down to being done almost to the end here, and I'm like over it, pouring it out. Sometimes I'll just like pour it out on our table that we're working on, and I'll just leave it to set up, and then I'll kind of have it
Scrape it off.
Scrape it off. Yep.
And then
Yes.
you would say for someone who wants to use their pan afterwards, or how to remove the wax. Just try and wipe.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Doesn't matter how many times you use it. So can you see that? That's like a little luge there. I don't know if you can see this, but where she's pouring, it slowly is drying there, and it creates this little luge where the chocolate, where the lip balm comes out. So here's the thing. When I first did this, and I was totally appalled that, oh my gosh, I ruined my grandmother's pan. It gets into the pores or whatever. It doesn't matter how many times I have heated this up and I wipe it down. It's not going to come out. It's in there. The wax is in your pan. It really is. So wash it in a dishwasher, does terrible things to it, into your dishwasher. It's not going to remove that minute coating of wax. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay. So our technician here, she had a steel pan that she had used and had the wax in it. So what she ended up doing was she submerged it in like boiling water, and then she let it cool, and then the cool water's in there allows that wax to float up from it to release it from there. But I would still challenge you and say there's still residual of wax. But here's the thing. Beeswax is not poisonous to eat or ingest. None of these ingredients in the lip balm are poisonous or not okay to ingest. Now, I'm not saying, oh, go eat your lip balm today. Absolutely not saying that in any way, shape, or form. But if I would use this pan and I just done the lip balms only, I could use it for cooking. Unfortunately, we use this for our salves and our lotions also, so that's a no-go. So, all right, are we used it all up?
Nope, but yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
All right.
And then we still have to whip up the.
Oh, it's my shirt reflecting. I'm like, is that on? Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do, I want to move some things out of here. We're going to move these forward so they can set up. And then we're going to get ourselves ready for our lotion. So give me like 2 and 2 and we'll be good to go.
Should
Okay.
we talk out again the raspberry if they wanted to go ahead and continue to do the raspberry one, or if they didn't add the raspberries to their chocolate, they basically do the same process that they did for the chocolate
Yes.
lip balm,
Instead of putting the chocolate in, put your raspberry in.
and then just mash up the
Raspberries.
berries.
Yeah. That's it. All right. You want to unplug me over there. Part of the lotion recipe needs to be cooled before we can move on to the second half. So I want to make the first part of it, we're going to throw it in the fridge, and then we'll come back getting started. So let's pull everything you have out of your lotion bag. So I believe we have the calendula. Did you guys give them distilled water? Oh, outstanding. I'll explain why that's important later. But you want to get out your calendula oil, your cocoa butter, and your beeswax. Okay. Now I already have my calendula measured out here. I threw my cocoa butter in here. It's solid. I think you can kind of see it in there moving around. And then I have the beeswax here. So if you are doing not large quantities, these are awesome. And they're kind of like little pellets and they melt up super quick. They're really great when you're doing types of classes and things like that. For the most part, when we're at home, we are using chunks of beeswax like this. I get mine from Florida. Met this awesome guy at a farmer's market. He was making soap, and I'm like, oh, I always want to learn to make soap. He invited me to his home. Holy cow. This guy's like a gazillionaire, and he just likes to make soap. It's the funniest thing. But his bees that he has on property are Italian bees. Who knew? I didn't know there's Italian bees. I just honeybees, other bees, whatever. But he uses Italian bees because in Florida, they're very aggressive down there with their Africanized bees. So those two kind of, come together and they make a sort of semi-relaxed bee. But this is the beeswax that I get from him. Now I do find that this particular beeswax is a lot stiffer. So when I'm using this particular beeswax, I have to make sure that I take into account the things are going to set up a little tighter. So for like your salves, it might be a little harder. You don't want that for your lip balms or your lotions. So these are actually the perfect thing when you are doing lip balms and lotion because you want to have a little bit more movement. So I'm just going to add these into here. So I have one mess we're coming out of. And today I did bring my hot plate to use, really because we use cast iron. Cast iron on a flat top, whether it's just like a regular flat top, I believe this is an induction, any type of flat top, when you're using cast iron, the intense heat on it does have a tendency, if it gets too hot, to crack them. So I would strongly encourage you not to use cast iron if you have a flat top, but you can use any type of stainless steel pan and you'll be perfectly okay. Now, you definitely don't ever want to use those pans that have like that, I think it's like a Teflon type of thing in it, like a coating that makes it no stick. That is just a terrible thing. The other thing is, whatever you use to do any type of thing that's like a salve or a lotion, those are not going to be ingested. So they might have herbs in them that, if the properties were transmitted to those pots that you're using or the pans, you can't use them to cook anymore. So if you were making, say, for example, a salve that has St. John's wort in it, you absolutely should never use that pan again for cooking again. It can really do some damage to you internally. St. John's wort's really known for like spontaneous abortions, and it can make you really sick. Also, the heat from it, the smell of it is also very noxious and can make you very ill. So this was my grandmother's kettle. I did not start to use this until after my dad was gone. He might have killed me. But we use this all the time. It's amazing. And any of the ones that we use from an herb perspective, it's always with our cast iron. We have a gas stove, and it's got the units that you plug in, so it's raised up above, so we don't have to worry about anything breaking. So I'm going to get this thrown in here. This is my solids for the lotion. I need to get this melted down so I can get it in the refrigerator, and then we'll move on to our next section. All right. This is where I get awkward trying to do things. I'm supposed to be trying to loosen my arm up before they put me back into a cast again. I don't think I'm supposed to be using it how I'm using it, though. It's okay. All right. So I had a paper towel here because even though I wipe this off, I don't want it to drip and make a mess. I try to keep a fairly clean work surface when I'm doing this, especially with the oils, because it tends to let things get turned when they're not supposed to. Now, I'm going to turn this up to medium because we're in a, yes. Okay. Didn't know if we had a question. I'm going to turn this up to medium. So go ahead and put all your ingredients in your pan, put it on your stove if you got your kits, and we're going to melt this down. Now, if you have a temp gun as a way to kind of watch it to see where you're coming up to, you don't want to go, when you get close to like 140, 145, shut it down. You may not have everything melted yet, but I'll show you what will happen. The heat will continue. We don't want to get really over 170, 175 because we start to lose some of the great properties of the herbs that we're going to be using. But if you do get over that, don't throw it out. It's not a lost cause and you can still use it. It's just, it may not, it's like when you overcook a piece of meat. You lost some of the nutrients, but its stem is still there. So it's an okay thing. All right. I'm assuming he's on. All right. So I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm going to try and tip it. Can you, do they see that, Kelly? Can they see it?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. See, there's little tiny yellow dots in there. So that's your beeswax. So I know that we are almost to the point where we need to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut mine down. When they start almost becoming translucent and they're almost melted, shut off your heat. If you didn't have a temp gun, that's how you know. And then we're just going to keep moving it around until all the cocoa butter and all of that beeswax has melted. You're like, oh, but I shut it off. It's not going away. It actually is melting everything else down. So we're almost there. I got just a little smidgy more. See, he's about gone. And then she is going to use the gloves because it is a starch skillet and it's hot. There we go. And it's all melted. I'm going to have you put it into this bowl. Okay. So And
So
she's going to
just a-
scrape all the oil out. So we get everything that we have.
We're just using a little spatula for that.
Yep. There we go. See, it's already getting cool on your spatula. All right, okay, set him right back on there. There you go. I'll take that for just a second. Leave no bits behind.
May I, also have a second?
Sure.
The recipe card and then.
I think there's one on the table right there for you. Yeah. Yeah.
And then just a reminder to me what all is in that mixture.
Beeswax, the cocoa butter, and the calendula oil. All right, so he needs to go to the fridge. We need it to cool down. Yep. Then we will need our mixture that we put into the refrigerator, if you would, please. All right.
I can wipe that.
We have another one. I have an extra one. All right. All right. Is everyone ready to move on to the lotion? We get some thumbs up. Like, what am I doing here?
I love how the aloe turned
Turned?
pink.
I know, isn't that fun?
So cool.
All right. I just want to make sure I get my measurements correctly. That's not a third of a cup. I know it's not, because that was the extra I had left over.
Mhm.
All right, can you take that off for me, please, before I wear it?
So this is a just seeing you said that you filleted the
Oh, sugar. I wanted to bring that to you. So if none of you have, so if you raise aloe plants, and you've used it like on sunburns and things like that. So here's my 2 cents worth on the proper way to do this. So you are going to go ahead and remove one of the stalks from your plants. You want to make sure it is super puffy. When you squeeze it, it fills full, okay? If it's filling thin, you probably need to water your aloe. And it'll help puff it up a little bit. But if it's not completely filled out, leave that one. I don't care if it's the biggest stalk on there. If when you feel it, it doesn't feel squishy and really thick, don't pick it. Okay, just leave him to be filled out later. When you take that off, you're going to cut. So there's 2 schools of thoughts here. You should really let it sit in a pan for about 30 minutes. And this yellow liquidy stuff is going to come out. That's called aloe. It's like an aloe latex. Now, if you look it up on the internet, somebody's going to tell you that, oh, it's toxic. It's dangerous. You don't want to be in it. It's going to cause skin breakout. It could cause you an upset stomach, yada, 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 fill in the blank. Then there's another side of the coin where they say it's not toxic. It's perfectly okay to use. You don't need to drain it. I tend to fall in the middle, mainly because the yellow really discolors my lotions. So I don't like it. And we don't use it. So that's what we do with that. Now you're going to, if you let it drain, you're going to hold the cut side up. You're going to cut down one side where those spines are. And I usually cut off, like if I had a stalk this long, I cut off like, 2-3 inches at the top, turn it around, I cut off the other spines. You're going to see that one side is flat and the other side is curved. On that flat side, you're going to take your knife and you're just going to go underneath that skin and just take it right off. Okay. Then I take a spoon, I hold it down, I spoon it, and I just take it right off. And you've got the chunk, like a healthy fillet. Really, it does look like a fillet of aloe. Throw it in your food processor or your blender, zip it on up, and you've got your aloe gel. So simple. Yes. Believe it or not, people actually eat aloe plants. They cook them up in the whole thing. Yes. So yeah, it's actually not poisonous, other than potentially possibly the yellow that drains out could maybe possibly be toxins, depending on which site you look at.
And you'll be able to use your food processor after,
Oh yeah,
after
absolutely.
making the lotion.
Yes. There's nothing in here that's going to cause you any problems. We do have multiple ones. I tend to like this one more because it has a way to stick to the table, which is nice. And I just like how it blends better. Plus, its hole in the middle isn't going to lose things down through the middle in case you pour it in the wrong spot. So, anyway, this is why he's my favorite right now. So, all right. So,
And so if they don't have a food processor, they could use a hand blender.
hand blender would work. Just a regular blender would work.
Blender? Maybe?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to say you've got to have some kind of blending mechanism because we want the saponification to happen. Isn't that a fun word? Saponification. It's like a happy word. It's like Shipshawana or pendulum. You know, it's like words that are out there. So, all right. Do not put your aloe or your water in here. Do not do it. Do not do it. That's a mistake I've made many a times. All right. So we have this. It's all nice and set up. I can't do this because of my silly hand. All right. See how it breaks up here? You're almost at the lotion stage. So it's already like set itself up. We're going to break it up, throw it in there. Use it. But the aloe is going to make it even better. You can use it right now as it is. It is very similar. All right, I need to measure this because I just grabbed when I was doing and I blended up your aloe the other day. I did not. I had some left over and I just threw it in a container for me at home. Now, you're going to say, oh, it's chunky, there's chunks in there. That's okay because they're going to get mixed into this. So when you do make your aloe gel, it's going to be kind of like a slushy. It's pulpy. It's pulpy, slushy type of thing. So that's not a problem. So in a container, you want to put your aloe and we want to put the distilled vinegar. The distilled water. Wow. I was doing all these pickles the other day. I'm still on a pickle thing and hot sauces. All right, there we go.
So your distilled water and your aloe are going to go into a separate.
Yes. Okay. You're not putting it in here. You're just holding it here to the side. So here's the thing. So if you ever try this with regular tap water, I have a well, we're out in the country, well water. Will it work? The short answer is yes. The long answer is in time. We didn't have distilled water one time, but I'll just use regular water. What could be the difference? This, when it saponifies, when you're adding this to the solid, turns almost immediately. If you use regular tap water, well water, anything like that, even bottled water, it's going to take anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes to actually get fully blended. And who has time for that? All right, let's throw this on here. All right, so you need to be able to add your aloe and your water. So that's why I prefer the food processor. Because if you take the lid, like my blender, I can take my lid off. I don't have a way to add things in my blender. It's an old school blender. And some of them, I think they might have that, but you have to be able to add the water as it's going. Okay. All right. I'm going to put so I'm going to tell you what's going to happen and then we'll do it because it's going to be loud. So I'm going to turn this on. It's going to start blending. It's going to break this all up. I'm going to add slowly my aloe water mixture to it. And it's going to keep going. It starts incorporating it. When it gets to the point that it sounds, it'll start changing colors. Oh, so hand me that salve. All right. So you see how it's kind of this color here? Your lotion is going to turn that color, and then it's going to slowly go to white. And it's going to sound like your machine is choking on itself. I don't know how to explain it other than it's just too thick. It's like, oh, kind of, I can't keep going. Stop. And I don't know how else to explain it. It just kind of chokes. Yes, ma'am.
So in the blender, we have our mixture from the start of class.
Yep.
In your cup, you have.
And distilled water.
Have we added the vitamin E?
Oh, add the vitamin E to your water aloe mixture.
Some people might have added it.
Mhm.
They can.
If they add it to oil, there's no harm, no foul.
So
One or the other.
the only thing that's in our food processor right now is what we had put in the fridge. We just scooped it out of our bowl, and put it in.
Okay. All right. Have you ever used one of these?
Yeah. Well, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you tip over, you have to be conscious of this here because it'll pour out over the top of that
Okay. Right.
too. So
Got you.
no mess. So I'm going to turn this on. And then after it gets going, she will slowly add that and you'll start to see how it'll change. And then it'll slowly whip into white. And then it will start to choke on itself and we will have lotion. All right. Let's look at. So go ahead and add some water. Go ahead more. Yeah. Turning white down here at the bottom. That rotation. There's more white than white. See the white? Okay, so I want to stop this for a second. So it's very close to being done, but we had white at the bottom and we have white at the top. It's in the middle that we're waiting for that to get done. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it up like super fast so it goes a little quicker. Right. I just want to take this, makes a mess. It really does. That's interesting. It's not blending in like it should. Of course it's not. Yeah. You want to try some of it?
It looks like frosting.
It looks like frosting. Yeah, there you go. It looks like frosting. All right, we'll do this a little bit more. Wet. Okay. So I had her put a little bit on her hands. It's going to look oily, a little greasy. But if you give it a few minutes, that's all going to soak into your hands. You won't have any greasiness or anything on you at all. And it will be completely done. All right. Now, because it is live, this thing's being a snot. You know how that works? Because this up here is done. Okay. This is all completely done. I don't know why it's being cantankerous and not completely mixing in. I don't know. It could be it's really warm in here. We work in an environment that is super chill. It could be because it's Saturday. Did Illinois win? Maybe they didn't win. Maybe that's why. I mean, literally,
A bit of aloe left over.
yeah, there's just a little, there is, and there should not be any aloe at all in here at all, or the water left over. So I'm not sure why it's doing that, but this right here, see how it's whipped like, that's correct. That's done. So I don't know why that little bit is not in there. We can just go ahead and pour that off. We have it happen every once in a while. I mean, it's just kind of weird. If we have super, super high humidity in the shop, it won't necessarily all incorporate. We just pour off that extra water, and we are left with literally the lotion that we have here.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yes. So, and I'm going to tell you, so I'm outside all the time, and, you know, I'm having, you know, sunburns or whatever all the time, and I just don't burn. If I'm going to do that, I put this on and I'm all perfectly good. So look, see, your hands are already getting not greasy at all. It soaks right in. So let's get this out of here and let's put it into our container. So we provided to you these types of containers. The way you put them into these containers is frustrating. There's no other way around it. You have to use some type of funnel, and you're going to have to be pushing it down and kind of tapping it and everything else. That's the way you have to do it. To alleviate frustration on my part today, yes. Absolutely. What you don't know is in your oil, I actually put white tea. You kind of smell a little bit, but we had the cocoa. You smell the cocoa butter a little bit. I put the white tea essential oil in it, just because I think it adds kind of a clean flavor. But you absolutely can add any kind of flavor you want. I would do a minimum 12 drops of whatever flavor it is that you are looking for. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to put it into this type of container for right now. It doesn't matter what kind of container you use, as long as you put it into something that you can use and get it back out.
So if you do have leftover aloe juice in the butter, they don't have to include it in.
I would not. I would not include it in with the lotion that you're taking out. No. So you can, I'm just scooping this out right now. You can take that off, and we can dump off the extra moisture that is in there. We can do that. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that if you want. Just put it in the bowl that you had, or I guess down the sink is perfectly fine too. So because I am injured, I was using this type of container. Normally we don't use this. We use these with the pump, or we use it with like a little snap lid to do it. I know I will not be able to do this correctly with that because I can't even close the top of that. Someday we'll look back on this and we will be amused. Now, for those of you wondering how long this lasts, do you need to put it in the refrigerator? No. Do you need to have it in a cool, dark place? No. It is perfectly content to sit and exist exactly as it is, just like this. I have some at home. It's 2 years old. It has not separated. It hasn't molded, hasn't got anything. It's perfectly fine. It's not that I haven't wanted to use it. We always make like a test sample. We put a date on it and it gets set off to the side so we can see how long things last, so that I can say definitively, so far it's like 2.5 years in and it's perfectly okay. So I'm gonna do that. See, there's a little bit of water in there. I want to dump that water off,
Okay.
but then you want to kind of knock it so it goes down. It's glass.
Okay.
Okay, we don't want to break it. All right. All right.
Any questions so far?
How's yours turning out? Good?
Do you want me to dump any of the leftover out?
Yeah, if you can, yeah, if you can get that to come out, that'd be fine. So this is really great on for like a face cream. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. And you're gonna say, oh, it's really, really thick. It's not like thick like a butter type of like lotion or whatever. It really just it's so wonderful and soft on your skin, but also, I mean, it's a full body. It is a full body, lotion. So face, legs, arms, wherever you want to have it.
How thick and
So-
creamy it looks.
Mm-hmm. So I'll put it there. Let's set a lid on it. Then you can put, labels on it if you want. Definitely write on here what it is, or you can print a label to put, but you want to know what you did. And I would at the bottom just put the date that you did it, just so you can keep track. If you make it more than once, you want to use the oldest first as opposed to the, first in, first out type of thing. So, right. Do we have any questions? Well, I hope you enjoyed this. The ingredients, the list that they sent you will help you. The healing power herbs is what I kind of called it. This will let you not only make your infused oils that you can use, but it'll let you make all of your different salves, your lotions, or your lip balms. It just is whatever you want to put in there as far as what ingredients you want to use.
That's great.
They add a root juice or something to give it like a fruities.
Well, I tell you, I have in my essential oils, I got this as a kit or a gift or whatever. It has like 30 different ones, and it has a grapefruit essential oil type of one. I don't know if you added like a lemon, if it's going to give you a lemon punch, or an orange, it's going to give you that orange flavor or punch. If you did maybe some of the zest from it, that would probably work. But if I'm adding a flavor to my lotions, I use essential oils. I put in 12 drops or what have you, whatever the flavor it is. That's what I do. It works great. And it doesn't compromise the formulation. So if you're putting in like say a fourth a cup of orange juice, it's going to throw off your totals.